Peace and blessings, family. Sister Ajali. Before I get started with this very, very serious topic, I want to say I'm getting my book finished as soon as possible, if maybe by next spring. And so I'll be back with another share next Monday. All right? And I wish you a fantastic week. And now let's get to what must be stated. My ashe to the memory of Sister Irish Grinstead, and I hope I'm pronouncing her last name correctly. My apologies if I'm not. And my condolences to her family. From what I've seen, they were a very close knit family. This post here is her sister, Lamisha, who together with another sister, they formed the band 702. I'm not familiar with 702, though I was aware of them when they were popular during the 90s. Sister Irish just died, I think, the day before yesterday, and she was only 43 years old. Her family requested privacy, and since I don't directly know her family, I'm not going up and asking them any specific questions, but they said she succumbed to a long battle with illness. Now, the Grinstead sisters, had another sister by the name of Orrin, I believe, who died from kidney failure due to cancer. My condolences and ashe for the loss of Orrin Grinstead also. And they spoke of her passing in the same regard, a long battle. I can't specifically say whether Sister Irish died from the same type of affliction, but in families, conditions do tend to express themselves with a similarity. That all said, of course I'm going to get into the radioactive aspect of this, because I was just talking with Dr. Z, and it is terrible that, first off, we should just be amazed and overjoyed with the preciousness of our own individual lives. And that I definitely do have for myself. But I also, like all of us, I acknowledge I ain't gonna live forever. And so in talking with Dr. Z, I just was astounded. Not that I haven't realized it, but sometimes you'll know stuff and you don't ponder it. And I realized that it's possible when I pass that the most in-depth analyzer and researcher of man-made radiation in our Black community will never be replaced. That will be an absolute travesty. That's like, murder's still going to be going on, but there'll be nobody to investigate them whatsoever. Which lends me to do a mention and hope for justice in the case of the murders of Melissa Mooney and Nicole Coates, who both were successful models, I guess. For me, what is valued as success has absolutely nothing to do with Coco Chanel. However, nobody deserves to be murdered. I don't even think non-Black people deserve to be murdered without justice being meted out. Not their way, not white people's way of, carrying out justice, which is injustice, but in a real court of law where all the facts are covered. Everybody deserves some sort of trial before their peers before, and I don't mean other racists, but I'm just saying everybody deserves to have a right to defend themselves. Thereby, I don't support violence in any regard. Now, I don't mean to go over these young ladies, but really quickly, they were living in very posh residences. That would mean that they were surrounded by pink people. I'm not saying necessarily that a pink person would have been their killer. I would say that's probable. Because when it comes to white people, they look at us as animals and bow down. I'm not saying whether they're bow down or not, but I'm just saying when you have an assumption that when you're in a white community, especially a rich one, you are safer than if you are in a black community, you make a terribly uncalculated risk to your own safety, especially as a single female. And when it comes to the many methods of murder, it's the man-made radiation one that has been woefully neglected, so that we're all vulnerable, where we just assume that white people are so intelligent that they understand the dynamics of nuclear physics, and we can't possibly begin to see the effect thereof. And so that's something that I've highlighted before winds up getting just completely neglected. It's such a crime. It's such a travesty, as I cannot begin to explain, where our infants, it says Black American, they got a category over there for Latina, okay? Our children, who are, we as a people, the strongest people on the planet, genetically. We can stand out in the sun for hours and hours and hours and don't even worry about sunblock. Our babies have the highest rate of not only low birth weight, but also demise during infancy of all other categories of ethnicities. That says there is something specifically directed and targeted towards us. What could be so friggin' streamlined? Right? Because there's poor white folks out there. There's poor white, they call it. I can't say it because of YouTube, but that's the way that they call it. Trailer park, okay? But they don't have this issue. We do. And I've highlighted how Ernest Sternglass documented they ship radioactive milk that would include that government cheese directly to black neighborhoods. What would be in that stuff that would make it so effective that you could see almost double the rate of affliction and mortality amongst our babies than amongst anybody else's babies? That's the radiation. That's the CMOS. That's the rice from Fukushima being given away for free to black nations, including Haiti. I forgot to mention Haiti, even though in Haiti they killed that president too. But he made himself so disagreeable to everybody that nobody was mourning. But one of the things he did do is he refused shipments of that toxicable jab. Okay? I'm just saying. All right? And he was taken out. But at the same time, they're still shipping in that free food from Japan. Nobody else wants it. Ain't nobody buying their food anymore. Japan is going to go into an economic free fall that's only going to be held up by the satanic elites who don't want you to notice it. Right? Nobody wants their rice, but they're giving it away to black nations for free. And so all these things that I've covered again and again, where I'm like, your cell phone is right here. I don't know if you can see my cursor right there. Is real. EMF wave radiation is long-term problematic, but These are the waves that it puts out so that it can reach through the walls of your house, so you get your calls through enough that most people don't even have landlines anymore. They just have their cell phones. Whereas, do you think this stuff over here, which is what you're eating, the FDA is now allowing all food from Fukushima into the U.S. market stream? And this is the level of frequency it's coming in at. That's why this is called non-ionizing, because it doesn't destroy your DNA right out the bat. That's the only reason why cell phones were allowed to be manufactured and sold as a product, because it's non-ionizing. Even though if somebody is constantly tapping you on the shoulder all day long, you may not, you're not going to get your shoulder broken, but you sure are going to deck that person after a while because you're pissed off. Well, your cells feel the same way. That's what the non-ionizing does. It doesn't destroy them outright, but it jostles all the organelles within. All right? So this stuff is on a magnitude, ionizing radiation, that we don't begin to understand. This why X-rays are outlawed. I showed the hands of the technicians who used to work with the X-ray machines and how destroyed they were over time. That is a lesser amount of radiation even than what's in our food, right? Especially when you're eating it. You don't need X-ray machines, but the amount of energy that your food is now putting out on a one atom basis, you're eating that. And they're not putting out, warnings, oh, this is radioactive. They're not saying, oh, no, it's not radioactive anymore. They're just not sending out alerts. On top of pushing CMOS to us, while this website, which is run by the International Atomic Energy Agency, which is a nuclear industry controlled agency, but they tell the World Health Organization exactly what to say and not say. By contract, the WHO has to get approval from the IAEA before they publish anything whatsoever about man-made radiation. They have this website that used to show you there is not a body of water on the planet that they have not found radiation within. You cannot access it anymore. I used to be able to go here and get the data right off the website. Can't do it anymore since I mentioned it. That is a globally superstructure, macro society supported genocide, because there is no safe dose of radiation. So was our sister, Irish Grinstead, eating CMOS, which is being peddled to us ad nauseum, as if it's a cure-all for everything, and that it would be bogus even without man-made radiation, a real factor in our lives? And was she eating, did she have Caribbean family members who she went to their homes and was cooking, they were cooking food for her, and they were like getting the real rice from the Caribbean as opposed to from the unentitled snakes? Because a lot of folks, when they immigrate from another nation, they prefer the products that they grew up with. But the products they grew up with could be heavily saturated with radiation. We don't know because nobody is testing our food for these isotopes. Nobody is even asking any questions but me. And I have black doctors who listen to my shares. They won't identify themselves, but I know they're there. And because I've been up here long enough time to have interactions with them, ain't a single one of them saying a god-dang thing about what I document. What is guaranteed to have an effect. So much so that I pointed out, you can see the trajectory of the die-off, where it's all started on California because Fukushima was such and remains, is still hemorrhaging radiation, massive quantities, into the largest source of oxygen on our planet. Well, this right here, just a second. That right there where he was walking, the sand itself is bioluminescent. And as he walks into the water, like that's crazy. That's crazy amount. Okay? You could see a phenomena like this where there's a certain fish in Japan that once a year it comes out bioluminescent. This right here, right now, they're saying this is going to last for now on. That tells you that there has been a huge change in the pH balance of the Pacific Ocean, which means the oxygenating organisms, the oxygenating phytoplankton, they're dead. They're dead. The Pacific Ocean is no longer producing the levels of oxygen that the whole planet friggin' needs. Because when you have a pH level that's in the acidic range, radiation is acidifying, and the death of beneficial organism is going to further increase the acidification. And then you have other species that suddenly would have never been able to get a foothold taking over the ecosystem. And that's what you're seeing with all of this. And they're just saying, oh, just get used to it. It's the way it's going to be on the Pacific Ocean only. This isn't something that's happening planet-wide. Okay? Not yet. But the oceans altogether provide 3/5 of our oxygen. So when all of the aerobic activity is done and gone, we're going to have a real big scramble to catch the next breath. I went over the brother with the black manosphere. Really, that's one of the reasons why my warning is so, I want to say it's wonderfully ignorable, but that's only because I'm a woman and I am so far from any type of feminism. Feminism is being hoisted on its own petard. Thank God. Because it's a ridiculous doctrine. It's ridiculous. Men and women are different. Hallelujah. Well, it should be men doing the investigation to protect us all. Because if I'm the only one and I'm giving you the facts, then that's a problem. That's a problem. This is another one where I did some work on this because I had to color this in. It was originally just black and white. It's from the Woodhull Oceanographic Institute, headed by a definite nuclear shill, and he was upset that this, I'm sure, got out, where they measured the radiation, cesium-137 and 134, in the flora and fauna as compared to the seawater. And so in those tests that they hid on the International Atomic Energy Agency, this is what happens to it. It concentrates thousands of times in the vegetation. That means, what you think's eating the vegetation but the fish? You eating fish? What you eating? There's no safe dose of it, right? Here we go, right? Here's the one of the ones that was original where it was black and white. Evolution of 134 cesium, 137 cesium, and this is radioactive potassium quantities in annual green algae, right? It sucks up the radiation. This is the one that I did color here, but with the description: quantities of those radioactive isotopes of diverse marine macroalgae and seawater collected in May 2011, and this was right off of Fukushima, okay? Stuff has gone everywhere. Obviously, they're hiding it with the International Atomic Energy Agency map. And thank goodness I have a couple videos where real, time I'm showing what was on that website, but I also got a screen capture of both sides of the planet, and these are just the dots. These are just the places they went. But where they went, there ain't no dot up here that says 0 amount of radiation found. Right? And so it's not hysterical on my part to say we got more than just one serial murderer out there. And given that we're all eating food, we have to. We're sharing it with our children. Which serial murderer that we are neglecting is going to wind up being the most horrifyingly effective? Please share the warning. If you are assuming everybody is racing to buy the soap I offer, the products on 25,000yearcycle.org, and I would never, in the past, when I did a testimonial, I don't even know what to call it, because I'm just speaking on our youthfully transition before their time and from highly suspect reasons. I never used to speak on the various products that I and Dr. Z have, because I felt it was disrespectful due to the complete lack of this warning getting as far out as possible so that it's not left in the hands of a sister. Right? I let you know because I want to test our food. I want to build my ability to keep making my warning credible, because I already have. It makes no sense that I should be the only one. That's crazy, right? Because we're all going to be affected. We're all going to be affected. It's like the books are already written. I've been reading them just to check. Maybe I am crazy. Maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. Then the more I read, the more I say, God dang, how is it we miss this? How is it we keep looking at everything else, but we ignore the one thing that's not just affecting us, it's affecting our entire planet? And I'm glad I said that, because I almost forgot. I wanted to highlight this. It's a comment from, could be a brother. I don't think it was just because of the way that he put this statement here. And there's plenty of white people out there pretending to be black. We know that, right? So he comments oftentimes trying to push that. I recognize the psyops nature, the false flag nature of the whole roll up your sleeve thing, right? I do not support the roll up your sleeve thing. But I'm just saying, the overwhelming majority, well, I can't say overwhelming, but the majority of black us, definitely, we ain't roll up nobody's sleeve, let alone our own. And when you look, well, let me read what he said. He said, you black people, that's what let me know. Okay, you just went all wrong here. Have to remember, the white man already did this trick with, I can't say that. Even though YouTube left his comment up there, many times this has happened with this one particular person, because they know I've tipped the psyop and the false flag. And so they leave his comment up there because they're hoping that they can convince, if not me, the casual reader. Okay? And so I can't say that, right? So remember this trick with the in black men's arms during the Tuskegee syphilis experiments, and now he wants to do it another in our arms. I have to say it kind of funky because I can't say the stuff he says. Well, I responded, and I'm always going to do my best to be peaceful. All right. I said, I'm not saying anything against that. But I said, Brother Alex, all right. But what's he sticking in all the dead creatures, wings and legs and fins? The joke thing? Now, are you saying that radiation when eaten is safe? Because that's in all our food, while less than half of us got that joke. We have terrible senses of humor, okay? Why do you refuse to consider there's a larger narrative that's killing so many living organisms? Peace, beloved, right? Do you know, could have been him, Because at this point in time, I think he's an agent. I really do. Because he was just like obsessive compulsive with leaving this narrative down there that I fully reject. Because I see what YouTube does and how they shadow that. Man, they gotten real expert. Probably because the satanic elites made them at shadow banning comments. When I leave a comment on Mad Black TV, I have to make sure it has absolutely nothing informative whatsoever. If I mention the fact that I have my own separate channel, oh my goodness, not even Brother Mad Black will see it. It'll stay there because they want you to think, oh no, see your comments here. It's just nobody likes it. That is bullcrap. Because human behavior is very consistent. The fact that I had a 25K channel, and once it reached that point, they had to make sure nobody else was allowed to join. But initially, I was like 100 new subscribers per day. For that not to be the case when I'm the only one, not just giving you my opinion, but giving you the facts and the data to prove I know what I'm talking about. And my comments get no likes whatsoever. It's shadow banned based on my subject matter. If I talk about absolutely nothing, then suddenly people are hitting like, oh, wow, this is great. Right? So I see the game. I know what these dudes are playing. For this dude to be saying this, and it's all supposed to be against their censorship when in the major media, they're allowed to talk about these things more kind of fully, but they're still running the game. As long as you don't know it's an algorithm that they're trying to get you all freaked out about, then that's good enough for them because they want us all to be hypochondriacs. And then we'll submit to Western Madison. Okay? Then they're allowed to say it. But no, regular people, we can't have sovereignty over our own daggone bodies. Is that a slave or what? And as they have no use in their own minds for slaves, then that is just somebody that they consider grist for the mill. My condolences to the family of Irish Grinstead. I continue to work, even though if you were to happen to hear this, you would be guided to be upset when I've been screaming for over 10 years, for over 12 years, trying to keep this from happening. But there's no way, and I'm okay with that, because as a warner, doing my duty to get you the message, there is no blood on my hands. And Allah's blessings are real. I avail myself of all the mighty ways that He has put forth so that I live in heaven already. And I'm living. That's the way it's supposed to be. Heaven's supposed to be under our feet, because it sure ain't in no graveyard, okay? I love you, family. Straight Black family pride is our map to forever if we stop being scared of the devil. Peace and blessings.